Hello everyone. We are from the biggest open source conference COSCUP in Taiwan. In this year, COSCUP will hold the event on August 1st and 2nd. Welcome to join our event. Now, Charles will take you to discuss the intersection between the open source culture and the blockchain that emphasizes trust and consensus. Okay, Charles, let's
Okay,
go.
thank you. Okay, let's get started. Okay, hello everyone. I really appreciate to have this opportunity to share some of my observations and experience of blockchain business. And my name is Charles, and I'm a developer from Taiwan. Today, I'm going to talk about the intersection between open source culture and the blockchain business. So let's get started. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself very quick. I am a Golang developer, and right now I'm working at a blockchain startup in Taiwan called Ami. And I'm also a motorcycle enthusiast. And I'm working at Ami is responsible for crypto wallet development. And these are my account of my Telegram and the Medium. So here's the agenda of this talk. First, I will explain what is blockchain and how it works by two examples. And then I'm going to talk about what does the blockchain to do with open source and what similar philosophies do they share in common. And also, I will introduce two open source projects that we are working on right now and can be found on the GitHub. And the last part is a simple QA section. Okay, the first of all, what is blockchain? The first example is Bitcoin. I believe that most of you have heard about it already. And Bitcoin is a decentralized ledger maintained by a distributed system. So, in other words, it is just a distributed system that does some certain jobs or tasks. But what does decentralized mean? In the traditional financial system or currency system, centralized institutions like central bank or commercial bank are responsible for custody or the settlement. However, Bitcoin is not maintained by any government or company or certain groups. Several validating nodes in Bitcoin network are responsible for maintaining this ledger system. We call them miners. But who are those miners? They can be anyone as long as you have the computing resources and willing to participate. Then you can become a miner. Being a miner is not like doing volunteer. Miners are incented to and rewarded by the transaction fee and as well as the block Coinbase. So miner will get paid for their contribution actually. And with such design and the innovative economy model of Bitcoin, a currency system without bank or government was born. And also, it's a permissionless system, which means everyone with internet access can create a account and start trading with others in the network. And what a ledger does is simply keep some state in a secure way For example, the balance of each account. Um, Bitcoin was designed to be a ledger, but unfortunately, it can't do too many things other than a ledger system. So some people or developers start to think about other possibilities of this technology. So the next one was born, which is Ethereum. Ethereum is a distributed computing platform with smart contract feature. In order to realize this feature, it actually comes with Turing complete programming language called Solidity, that which allows you to program your application on a blockchain. And smart contract, also known as Dapps, which is abbreviation of decentralized app. The name of itself indicates that it will be run in a distributed and decentralized way. Um, in practical, the apps will executed in a virtual machine called EVM, which exists in every node in this network. EVM is an isolated environment that means there's no access to other resources like the local files or the internet. So you're not able to call the third-party API through the internet in your DApps. The actual execution will be done by multiple nodes in the network, and it is expected to have a consistent result from each node. That's why the isolated EVM is needed. And furthermore, each DApp has its own storage, so you can put any data in different form, like an array or a map in the storage. So by allowing developers to program their customized application and store any data they want, Ethereum is not just a ledger anymore, and it became a decentralized computer. And applications now can be realized in a decentralized way. Also, the blockchain itself now becomes a stack of protocols. The scheme of protocol in different layers is just like the internet protocols. And for developers who focus on applications, there's no need to build another brand new blockchain anymore. Those new ideas can be implemented by writing a Solidity program without considering of P2P network issues or the consensus algorithm. So this is how a blockchain stack look like in um, 2019. In order to solve different problems, um, you can see there are many sub layer within layer one. Also, the apps start to have dependency with others. So the layer two divided into multiple ones as well.
不
So
不好意思，在香港朋友们现场网络有点干扰，
oh
我们
okay.
要不要暂停一下下？我们听听他们一下。
So 我们要继续吗？
How about we break for 2 minutes? I try to contact them. Is is that okay if we take a 2 minute break and I try to contact them?
Okay. So maybe you can try to mute them. Mute. Can you I don't know who's
I,
the.
they are owners, so I
So
can
you are not the owner. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and and I can hear you very well in less 30
OK，
seconds.
他没有掉了，所以
Oh,
我应该可以
okay,
进去。
okay.
好
So please start. Thank
，OK，
you.
let's proceed. So these are some of the most popular and well-known dApps on Ethereum. So you may heard of ICO, which is initial coin offering, and you may heard of the USDT stablecoin, and also there are some decentralized exchange and lending protocol as well. So having a basic understanding of blockchain, we can start to think about what does blockchain to do with the open source. And the first thing is the trust. Trust is a very core element of financial system, and usually the fiat currency is issued and backed by a central bank, and people trust the value of a paper banknote and willing to trade with it is because they trust the whole society and the nation, the government. And you can find either a signature or certain institution of certain institution on your money, or the image of some historical figures on a paper banknote, like US dollar or Japanese yen or British pound. So that's is a declaration of its authority and the proof of the value it represents. But how can we trust a decentralized currency system without bank or government? So the answer is if there's no source, there's no trust. The trust of blockchain system is based on the cryptography algorithm and the game theory, as well as the Dapp execution environment that provide the consistent result. So in order to make sure this characteristic preserved, revealing the source code behind the implementation is actually inevitable. So almost every implementation in blockchain business needs to be open sourced. The fundamental ones are, for example, like the cryptography library, like the RSA or the elliptic curve implementation. And other than that, the client node itself is open sourced for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. They need to build a community in order to get feedbacks and helps. And it's not easy to convince those early adapters since they are all cryptography researchers or engineers or so-called cyberpunk. And they are all experts, so it's impossible to convince them with a simple white paper. And the design of distributed system and the consensus algorithm is very complicated. So needs more developer as well as miners to secure these systems. For similar reasons, the app cannot work like a black box, especially most of the apps are financial related application right now. Open sourcing is becoming the standard of this industry. But you may ask, what if somebody deploy another DApp instance using my open source code? Um, well, these questions has been asked since 90s when open source culture popped up. And but let's talk about the scenario in blockchain business in 2020. So the first is about the copyright. And unfortunately, because there's no direct link between the blockchain address and the real identity, so practically it is hard to protect it by legislation or law enforcement on the copyright. And the second one is about the business model. So as you can see, enterprise now are selling services and subscriptions as their product, not just the software itself. So they don't sell a simple package of software anymore. So the source code itself should not be considered as the main portion of the business model now in blockchain business. So there are several successful models in this area. For example, uh, the platform will charge fees with a certain ratio as the profit, or the app would issue their native token. This is very similar to the IPO, and this native token may have some privileges or may represent a share of this platform. And besides our source code and business model, the ability to maintain and operate the app is very important as well. And it can cause disasters if someone without fully understanding of the original design and build another DApp instance by simply copy and paste. So let's look at an example of this. So there is a lending protocol application on Ethereum called Compound. It's simple, elegant, and successful. It allows you to acquire interest by supplying your money to a pool as well as borrowing from it. But last year, another one called LendFme was launched by DForce, which is a Chinese DeFi company. And it's actually a clone of Compound with few variable changes. Uh, since the compound is actually open sourced. But unfortunately, LandFme was hacked in this April. So all the pool was drained by a hacker. They lost 2.5 billion worth of crypto tokens. And the root cause was that the team of LandFme made some deadly operating decisions without awareing the limitation of this application. So actually, there is a bug of the original design of Compound, and since Compound is open source, this bug is actually public and can be exploited by anyone, any hacker. And so the CEO of Compound and talk about this incident on Twitter. He said, if a project is just a clone of another one, it's a sign that they don't have the capacity or intention to consider security. I think his message is clear enough. A permissionless system with open source implementation definitely need a much higher level of security consideration. And this incident shows that not only source code matters, but also the ability to operate it with comprehensive understanding on the security aspect. Uh, The next one is consensus. Blockchain need a certain consensus algorithm in order to coordinate things. A malicious node may exist in such a permissionless system. And the consensus matters not only on the chain, but also in the community. Um, since the improvement of design and the code debugging never ends, it might cause some discord in the community sometimes. So if parties in community are not in agreement of certain change, uh, another chain or so-called forked chain may emerge. So the original chain split into multiple ones. And it is because it's an open source project, right? Everyone can get a clone and fork into another version. And this image shows the relationship between different alternative Bitcoin chains, and this is actually happening in Ethereum ecosystem as well. So when I started to think about what is the relationship between the cyberpunk and the open source culture, I found that they share some philosophy in common actually. And the first one I found is collaboration. And open source is a efficient way of people collaborate with each other. So uh, the internet and the whole world would not be the same without the good foundation created by open source project. For example, the free web server or the free operating system. And human can accomplish incredible achievement when we help each other and when we work together to solve certain problems. And the blockchain encourage people to do good things together as well by their special incentive model. So the system is secured um, by a network with more righteous miners than malicious one. And open source software gives the freedom of making changes to anyone. It allows you to redistribute the code and or publish your changes so everyone in the community can share the benefit of it. And because the decentralized nature of blockchain and the characteristic of the secure hashing function, um, those data or states on the blockchain is public to everyone and they are immutable. So miner keep packaging new created states into new blocks, and there's a link or a hook between each block on the blockchain, and those blocks are saved into the hard drive of each node in the network. So it is not feasible for a hacker to change the content and break the link. That means no one can change or erase these data on the blockchain. So there's no censorship in this network. And since there is no need for centralized custodian anymore, users can control their funds, their assets directly without any limitation, which enhance self-sovereignty of each one. So the blockchain sometimes is recognized as the internet of values. It's a protocol that can transmit value without boundaries. And for those who may not be able to have a bank account or financial assistance service, uh, because any reason, a blockchain is another option, and it's an example of how open finance works in the next generation. And because the data on chain is public and transparent, developers start to think about the possibility of on-chain voting or governance. The Decentralized Autonomous Organization, or DAO, is an experimental concept that tries to operate a decentralized organization on blockchain. And the blockchain technology is trying to reshape the way people interact with each other, just like open source culture does over the past decades. And following, I'm going to introduce open source project that we're currently working on. So the first of all is the first one is Alice. It's a digital signature library written in Golang, which is which is similar to multi-sig. And we implement the hierarchical threshold signature algorithm, which is HTSS for short. And the HTSS can have a shorter signature than multi-sig because multi-sig requires different private key participation, while HTSS does not. And because of that, HTSS can have better privacy as well. And also the HTSS improve the accountability of traditional threshold signature algorithm by having the ability to assign different weight or label to different shares. And we're just finished the first audit report with Udesky Security Company. So you can find the public report, audit report on our GitHub. So if you're interested in threshold signature, you can go check it out on our GitHub repository, or there are a couple articles about threshold signature on our Medium as well. And another one is Vishwakarma, and it's about the infrastructure management. And this allows you to create and manage a self-hosting Kubernetes cluster on the AWS using Terraform modules. And these modules describe the infrastructure configurations as code. So the benefit of it is you can have versioning infrastructure settings. So doing an upgrade or rollback of resources in your cluster now is possible by using just only one command on the terminal. And those modules can be reused and shared as well. And Vishwakarma has couple predefined ASG settings, and of course you can define a customized ASG as well. So here's the link of this project. So that's all my presentation today. Thank you for listening. And so maybe let's open for a couple questions if there anyone has questions.
Thank you, Charles.
Uh-huh.
But I think we might not have the live Q&A section. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe if there are anyone have question, you can directly contact Charles. And do you have any ways that people can contact you?
Yeah, I left my account of my Telegram on the second page.
Okay, so if anyone want to ask any question, so please just feel free to contact Charles. So thank you, Charles. And
Okay,
now
thank
we
you.
are going to start the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.